If you can disrupt the history of segregation and racism in your own life, that is just as important as a policy being implemented, because that's how movements get started. And so I want my projects to be a reminder of that for people, that it has to start in your own life, it has to start in your own neighborhood, it has to start in your own city. And when you do that, momentum can be built.
That is an excerpt from an interview with 2025 MacArthur Fellow Tonika Lewis Johnson, a photographer and social justice artist exposing the impacts of systemic disinvestment in urban communities. She uses photography, maps, and multimedia storytelling to articulate the vast disparities in conditions, infrastructure, and investment between Chicago's neighborhoods. In this episode, we go in depth with Tonika to learn more about her work, and her exceptional creativity. Let's hear more from her interview.
Growing up in Chicago, and specifically in the neighborhood, Englewood, gave me a front row seat to segregation. I was able to see easily how we're all impacted in different ways. Every part of my life has been touched by segregation, and I know that to be true about everyone who lives in this city. So it really was a story that I wanted to tell. And, it just took me until I got in my 30s to learn enough, to know enough about how to use my art, my interest in photography, my passion of reading and history and, being a self-declared nerd, to package all of that in a way that would be able to connect to the larger public. I would say the more important theme in my work is not only segregation, but also healing and repair, and providing people pathways to make all of these things remain personal, reminding people that the data that we hear around segregation is truly about each and every one of our lives. You might not know all of the history, but you know what your life is like. You know, if you have been raised in a homogenous neighborhood, there is history behind that, and this history is all of our history, and it isn't something that should be hidden. Photography is my first love. It is the medium that showed me that I love documenting my neighborhood, that I love photographing the amazing people who I grew up with, who are neighbors to me, who I do community work with. And it also offered me a way to combat stereotypes that led me to want to understand the history behind it. As I was starting to learn these answers for myself, I wanted to share it. I knew that photography, as much as I love that medium, had boundaries. And I needed to include another kind of medium to demonstrate what I was learning, which is people's stories. And my background is in journalism, and so, I do love how people share their stories, how they talk, the gestures that they use. I wanted to be able to incorporate video. Then I also wanted to figure out a way to show all of this in a relatable aspect, which included the map of Chicago. At each point, I developed interest or incorporated a new artistic medium until it just got to the point that I said, I need to combine all of this. How do you combine all of this information and my love for multiple mediums into a project that can connect to people? And that is what led me to ultimately create Folded Map. Folded Map is a project that includes mapping, portraits of residents, photos of homes, and also video of people who live on the same street in Chicago, but miles apart in racially and economically different neighborhoods. actually meeting each other for the first time. So I conceptually folded Chicago's map and brought neighborhoods together, touching each other by way of the residents who live there. And I introduced them to each other and I called them map twins. Map twins represent me changing in the course of doing the project. I didn't think that people cared about my neighborhood, and I literally started Folded Map to show people how my neighborhood had been bullied in the media, how it's been mistreated historically. But then when I took photos of homes on the north side to demonstrate that difference, I met people who lived in those homes and they were asking me about the project. And they were interested in a way that I had not experienced. The first map twin who came outside when I was taking a picture of her house, she asked, what are you doing? And I told her. And I asked her, had she ever been to Englewood? And she said, no. I've only heard about horrible things of that neighborhood on the news. She's like, but I do want to learn more. And her interest in wanting to learn more is what inspired me to invite her to my neighborhood to meet someone else who lived in the neighborhood beside me. And so that's what was unexpected for me, is discovering how people want to learn, how they want to connect in a way beyond politics. So Map Twins is literally the demonstration that people do care, despite what you think. I think Folded Map really demonstrates just the small steps that individuals can do to disrupt historic segregation, which is go to the place they told you to don't go. You shouldn't not go to where you have been just told don't go to, because it's people who live there. You're missing out on opportunities to connect with people that you might like, to discover something that, you enjoy. And so Folded Map kind of demonstrates all of those inequities and visualizes this history, but it also brings people together and gives them a pathway to disrupting it. And to me, that's the heart of the project, because if segregation and racism was engineered, then it also can be engineered for repair. And that's what led to the other beast of a project, Unblocked Englewood. Unblocked Englewood is not only a reparative participatory art project, but it is also a housing initiative. It is diverting public art funding into a specific block that was directly impacted by historic predatory land sale contracts. My argument was that if you help these residents who are legacy homeowners in this neighborhood repair their homes, restore pride, restore dignity, and offer them an opportunity at no cost to them to beautify their block, to beautify the exterior of their homes, how can that not be art? When you drive down this block, you notice something different, you feel something different. You're gonna notice a mural. You're gonna notice a beautifully painted house. You're gonna notice sculptures. And if you see those things, you're gonna know, okay, these people on this block love this block a lot, and they do. And so I really wanted to do a project that not only talked about the large issue of historic predatory housing practices and its impact, but again, in the theme of Folded Map, also demonstrating a way to heal and to repair. And if you take something away, then you should put something back. I want my body of work to demonstrate that how we measure the value of disinvested Black neighborhoods needs to be completely transformed and changed. We may not have had all of the over-resourced schools. We may not have had all of the amenities of an over-resourced neighborhood, but what we do have is people that care, people who encourage me to do my art, people who told me, do the next project, residents who invited me into their homes to be a part of my work. And I tell people that change and movements happen by talking to people, by connecting over various divides. I want my projects to help people feel confident that learning, listening is really a pathway to healing.
Tonika Lewis Johnson is the Chief Executive Officer of the Folded Map Project and co-founder of the Englewood Arts Collective. You can learn more about her work at tonikajohnson.com. The MacArthur Fellows Program identifies and supports extraordinarily creative individuals with a track record of excellence who demonstrate the ability to impact society in significant and beneficial ways through their pioneering work. To learn more, visit us at macfound.org.